Welcome to our comprehensive video on understanding consumers' behavior. In this detailed discussion, we will know the main theme of consumer behavior and I will try to touch every key topic from this chapter. However, my name is Abid Abdullah. I am an undergraduate student of Computer Science and Engineering from Shahjalal University of Science and Technology, Sylhet. Before entering the chapter, let me clear you who are the consumers actually. A consumer is a person who consumes or uses the product regardless of whether they made the purchase for themselves or not. Let me give an example so that you get the clear conception about consumers. Suppose a parent buying a toy for their child. Here the parent is the customer and the child is the consumer. However, let's see the chapters and the topics. Let's see the topics that we are going to cover in this short video. Here are the topics. The first topic is utility and choice. What is utility? Utility is the satisfaction or benefit from consuming goods and benefits. We can define utility as the satisfaction or pleasure a consumer derives from consuming goods or services. On the other hand, choice in economics is about selecting the best option given limited resources. Actually, consumers make choices to maximize their utility given their budget constraints. Here you can see an example over utility and choice. Let's move to our next topic. The topic is cardinal utility versus ordinal utility. So the question is, what is cardinal utility? Cardinal utility can be measured numerically. For example, 50 units of burger. On the other hand, ordinal utility cannot be measured numerically but can be ranked in order of preference. Let me give you an example. A person prefers pizza over burger, or suppose a person prefers Coca-Cola over Sprite. Those are the example of ordinal utility. Here you can see some characteristics over cardinal utility and here over ordinal utility. Moreover, cardinal utility and ordinal utility describe consumers' preferences, but they differ how they measure satisfaction. There is the difference between cardinal utility and ordinal utility actually. Let me show you some differences between cardinal utility and ordinal utility from this chart. You can pause the video and read those differences. Okay, now let's see our next topic. The topic is total utility and marginal utility. What is total utility? Total utility is the total satisfaction from consuming a given quantity of goods. If you see in the slide, you can get the definition of total utility. Total utility refers to the overall satisfaction or benefit a consumer derives from consuming a given quantity of goods or services. It is the sum of the utility gained from each unit consumed. On the other hand, marginal utility is the additional satisfaction from consuming one more unit of a good. Marginal utility, the additional satisfaction from consuming one more unit of a good. There is a relationship between total utility and marginal utility. To realize the relationship between total utility and marginal utility, we can see a graph. Here we can see that when the total utility curve changes its course, look at the top graph. When the total utility curve changes its course, it is called the point of inflection. At this point, the total utility curve changes its course. Now the question is, what is the point of inflection? It means we consuming more goods at the point of inflection. If you look over the bottom graph, you can see that the MU is, the marginal utility is max when at the point of inflection. Before the point of inflection, as we are consuming one more good, our satisfaction level was decreasing in increasing rate. Look at the top graph. You can see that before the point of inflection, as we are consuming one more good, our satisfaction level was increasing in increasing rate. After the point of inflection, after this point, before this TU max, our satisfaction level is still increasing. Here our satisfaction level is still increasing, but the increasing is in decreasing rate. Look over both graphs. When TU is max, our satisfaction level is highest. At this point, our satisfaction level is highest. After TU max, the satisfaction level is going down After this point, the satisfaction level is going down as it is decreasing. If you look over the bottom graph, you can see that the marginal utility is 0. This marginal utility is 0 when the TU is max. Look over both graph. And after consuming one more good, we will not really get satisfied. In this case, our satisfaction level is also decreasing. Let's move to our next topic. This is the law diminishing marginal utility. Here you can see that as consumption increases, marginal utility declines. Total utility rises when marginal utility is positive, but may drop when marginal utility reaches 0 or negative. We already saw this in this previous graph. Okay, now let's see our next topic. Marginal rate of substitution, in short MRS. What is MRS? MRS is the rate at which a consumer is willing to substitute one good for another while keeping the same level of satisfaction. For an example, imagine you love both coffee and donuts. If you are willing to give, sorry for the inconvenience. Look at the example again. Imagine you love both coffee and donut. If you are willing to give up 2 donut for 1 extra cup of coffee, then your MRS or marginal state substitution is 2. Here you can see the formula of marginal state of substitution. Okay, now let's move to our next topic. Our next topic is consumers equilibrium. Consumer equilibrium occurs when consumers maximize their total satisfaction given their income and the prices of goods. At this point, they have no incentive to change their consumption patterns. For a consumer to be an equilibrium while consuming one good, they should consume up to the point where mu is equal to p, where mu is marginal utility of the good and p is the price of the good. Here we can see that if mu is greater than p, the consumers should buy more of the good. But when the mu is less than p, the consumer should buy less of the good. Now, let's see the next topic. Here we can see indifference curve and budget line. What is an indifference curve? Why do we need the indifference curve and budget line? Why? Okay, let me explain why. Have you ever think how do consumers describe between different combination of goods? Actually, indifference curve and budget line would help us to explain this. Let's know what is indifference curve. An indifference curve is, sorry for the inconvenience again. Here you can see the indifference curve is a graphical representation of different combinations of two goods that provide the same level of satisfaction to a consumer, meaning the consumer is indifferent between any points of the graph. Now see the properties of a IC curve. You can pause the video and read all the properties. Let's move to our next topic. It is budget line. What is budget line? Budget line represents all possible combinations of two goods that a consumer can buy given their income and prices of goods. The equation of budget line is Pxx plus Pyy equal to M, where Px and Py is the price of goods of X and Y is the quantities of goods, and M is income. Okay, let's move to our next topic. Here we can see some mathematical proof about law of equi-marginal principal states. Okay, our next topic is income consumption path. What is income consumption path? So the question is, what is income consumption path? Income consumption path shows how a consumer's optimal consumption of two goods changes as their income changes, while prices remain constant. The definition is, it is the locus of equilibrium points as income increases. And it also shows the relationship between income and quantity demanded of two goods. Right, let's see a graph. Actually, here the graphical representation is x-axis and y-axis are for two goods, and there is an indifference curve, budget line. Actually, there are let me back to our previous slide. Actually, there are two types of income consumption path. One is for normal goods and one is for inferior goods. What is for normal goods? When normal goods, the income consumption path slopes is upward, but when in inferior goods, the income consumption path may bend backward. Let's see the graph now. Here we can see that a graph which shows three different curves, IC1, IC2 and IC3. So as income increases, wait, let me use my marker. Let's see the graph. Here we can see a graph which shows three different ICs, IC1, IC2 and IC3. So as income increases, the consumer moves to a higher indifference curve. So here green to red, and the consumer consuming more of both goods. The budget line shift upwards. The income consumption path curve is the locus of these three. You can see here the locus. The locus of these three IC curve is the income consumption path. These equilibrium points showing the direction of consumption changes. The equally marginal principle shows that mu mu1 divided by p1 equal to mu2 by p2. So the key point from here is when income increases, the consumption of normal good increases. The equilibrium point move along the ICC, but equimarginal principles remains valid. Okay, let's move to our next slide. Already I have write this mathematical expression in the previous graph. You can see here. Okay, now let's see a graph which is about relationship between good and income. After this, we come to relationship between income and consumption. This graph examines how consumption changes with varying income. Here the x-axis, what? Let me use the pen again. Here this x-axis represents the quantity of good consumed, and the y-axis here represents the income level. Here the blue line shows the locus. This blue line shows the locus. For normal goods, the consumption increases as income increases. Why? Let me how from the graph. Here you can see from this to this and from this to this. This shows the normal goods consumption increases as income increases. On the other hand, for the inferior goods, the consumption decreases as income decreases. The consumption decreases as income decreases. Luxury goods shows a steeper positive slope, meaning consumption rises significantly with income growth. So what is the key points? It is inferior goods see a decline in demand as income increases. Normal and luxury goods see an increases in demand with higher income, and this relationship is crucial for predicting market behavior. Now let's move to our next topic. The topic is derivation of consumer demand curve. Here we can see a mathematical expression which is m equal to p1 1 plus p2 into 2. If E is constant and decreases and the increases, the budget line pivots upward. Wait, let me show you a graph so that the concept will be clear. In the graph, we can see as if P1 decreases while P2 remains constant, the budget line pivoting upward. Look over the graph. Here, the top graph shows, wait, let me use my marker. Here, the top graph shows the shift through different in difference curve. Sorry, here the top graph shows the shift through difference. Wait, let me mark. This different in indifference curve is shown in the top graph. On the other hand, the bottom one depicts the derived demand curve which slopes downward and reflecting the law of demand. So what are the key observations? A decreases price increases quantity demand. The demand curve shows how a price changes affects consumption. In summary, the income consumption path explains how consumption changes with the income consumption relationship determines how different goods react to income shifts, and the demand curve illustrates how consumption behavior adjusts the price fluctuations. These insights are fundamental to understanding consumers' choices and market dynamics. Now, let's move to our next topic. The topic is water diamond paradox. This is an interesting topic actually. What is water diamond paradox? The water diamond paradox highlights the contradiction that water, which is essential for life, is cheap, while diamonds, which are not essential, are expensive. The paradox is water, which is extremely useful but has a low price. On the other hand, diamonds is less useful but have a high price. Let's see an example so that the concept gets more clear. Suppose a person stranded in a desert. Let's see an example. Suppose a person stranded in a desert would trade a diamond for a bottle of water. But in marketplace, diamonds are far more expensive due to their rarity. This is the main concept of water diamond paradox. Now let's move to our next slide. Here is a graph where we can see that the marginal utility decreases as quantity consumed increases. From the slide you can see, here we can see a marginal utility versus quantity consumed graph for water and diamond. As I was saying, you can see the marginal utilities decreases as the quantities increases. Okay. Thanks for watching the video. Like, comment and subscribe and stay tuned. Peace people.